So, welcome to the kitchen with me, Christian Burns. I'm here today with my good friend, Mark Kay. You want to say hello?
Hello, it's good to be here.
Oh, it's great to have you, mate.
Well,
Mark,
you've not seen my cooking, but we'll try.
Mark's an excellent cook. He trained with Gordon Ramsay. Was it Gordon Ramsay?
Mark up here, white.
Gordon Stratton.
Yes.
We're going to do some cooking, and I wanted to have a chat with Mark. I've known Mark, it must be for about, 20 years now?
Over.
Yeah,
26 years, yeah.
Yeah, 25 years. And, you know, Mark is also an incredible photographer, and we've worked together on many occasions. And I thought, I wanted to do a bit of an interview about the new album. My new album, Waking Up in a Northern Town, which is going to be out in June. I wanted to do an interview with it, and I thought, you know what, let's do a bit of cooking at the same time. So we're going to cook some food for you, and we're going to have a chat about the album and about everything music and photography. And I'm excited to do this. So first of all, let me tell you what we're cooking today. Now, this is incredible. You're going to want to make this, what I'm cooking today, right? This is a recipe for the best pasta sauce you're probably ever going to pop in your mouth.
It's a bold statement.
But Mark, come on, you've known me for a long time, and you've had this because this recipe originates from my mother, who's Italian, and it's been passed down from generations. So it's the roots of this recipe, authentic Italian, and it's a red sauce with beef and with some pork. If you're vegetarian, you could obviously miss out the pork and the beef.
It's very important.
Don't eat beef,
yeah.
But it's just an incredible sauce, and I've been brought up on this dish. I had a lot of pasta when I was a kid.
This style of food, right?
Yeah. A lot of this home cooking, and I love to cook. We're gonna get stuck in. So
cool.
First of all, Mark, we're gonna get some questions in a minute, but I just want to say what we're gonna do because you're my Susan chef.
Yeah, my sous chef. What are these?
Okay, we've got a problem.
They're carrots, right?
This is going to be tough, guys.
It'll be fine.
That's a snowman's nose.
Amazing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to get you a peeler, actually, Mark, and I'm going to put you in charge of peeling these. Let me put in the peeler. Can you peel?
I'll give it a go.
Okay. So we're going to chop the ends off, and we're going to peel this. I'll chop the ends because it's a sharp knife, you see. Mark can be trusted with these. Okay.
Probably.
So the basis of most Italian red sauces consists of carrot, celery, onion, and a bit of garlic. So we're going to chop some, we're actually going to grate some carrots today because it cooks a lot quicker when you grate things.
Okay.
And that's great.
There we go.
Going to be a few dad jokes in here today as well. You get stuck in with that, peeling those, Mark, and I'm going to start chopping some of this celery. I don't know why they do this, but it just works. They use these three vegetables, onions, carrots, and celery, at the base of every Italian red sauce, and it just seems to work. So be careful if you are chopping celery that you don't chop your fingers off.
How many times do you think you've made this dish?
I've probably made this. I don't know, mate. I've made this.
Quite
See, what I do is I make it and then I freeze it. I make a big load of it and then I freeze it because I'm lazy. That's the smart thing to do, right?
Yeah,
harder.
Yeah, I like it.
Because it is a bit of a process. So I usually make a big, massive pan. I've got this other pan. It's like a comedy size, like a cannibal size pan.
Okay.
It can literally fit a person in it. When I'm not using it to have a bath, I like to put massive amounts of pasta sauce in it.
When you're on the road with the lads, do you ever cook, or is it just
when I'm on the road with BB Mac boys? Yeah. Do you know what we used to be bad, like we'd just eat junk food and stuff, but more recently we've turned things around this past few years. So I'm just putting the celery in the pan there.
You're quite healthy, aren't you now? So.
Yeah, we're turning around. So we go to the gym every day. So we a lot healthier now. I'm just going to grate these.
Okay.
You know what, Mark? You can chop that one up.
Yeah.
Just be careful with your fingers.
I will.
Because
So I've got a few spare. It's fine.
Okay. We both did wash our hands before we started this. They didn't see us.
Yeah, it's all good.
It's all good. You must wash your hands. So yeah, we eat a lot healthier now. But it's about time when you're on tour, you know, whether I'm on tour with BB Mac or doing solo shows, it's always, everyone thinks when you go on tour, it's like, you know, oh, we went to New York, did a show. Oh, did you get time to go to see, you know, some of the sights? And it's like, no, it's like, it's full on. We literally see the city through the window. You know, you're doing all kinds through the day, sound checks, you know, even catching up on sleep, because a lot of time you've flew in or you've had hardly any sleep. So you don't really get a chance to see any of the sights, really.
It's always been like that, though, hasn't it? It was like that when you were obviously touring in the early noughties. And I remember coming over seeing you. It was always like that. You never, it was just full on, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
With BB Mac, back in, when we started BB Mac, 2000, well, we started in 96, but we had, you know, our biggest single Back Here was out in 2000, 2001, and it was crazy, you know. The start of my career in music professionally, that was, you know, to be propelled into such a big kind of project.
I remember, because it was, obviously I was working in media at the time, and obviously I remember seeing it all happening, and then we met, but like, it was like 3 million albums, right? So
yeah, 3 million albums.
Record, it was huge.
Yeah, we you know, we were just three lads. We loved music, we loved performing, we loved writing, and we were writing these songs in our bedrooms. You know, we were just three kids with a dream, I guess, and you know, we just had this belief that, you know, what we were doing was good, and you know, we had no fear.
Yeah.
And we went down to London. And these will be chopped up enough now. We went down to London and just busked outside record companies. I remember telling you.
Yeah.
And it was like, I think about now what we did, how confident we were, and just like, you know, we're going to do this. You know, we had no manager, we had nothing. I even borrowed my dad's suit to go down to
Tony's suit.
Yeah, Tony's suit. I even borrowed his suit to go down. I'm just going to put a bit of olive oil in this so we can get this cooking. You want a good olive oil, so like, you know, extra virgin. Always go for the extra virgin, much more flavour. But yeah, we you know, we went down to London, we busked. We got the attention of a couple of labels, and then, you know, the rest is history, as they say. There was a bidding war, and we signed our deal in 99, and then it was crazy for a few years. I mean, this was, you know, years before I got into the dance arena, which was 2007.
Yes, I remember.
Yeah.
So, but that's the thing about when you started and not having, you know, having no fear. That's the beauty of youth, isn't it? You don't have fear, you know, and you just keep going for it, you know.
Yeah.
I think as people get older, I don't know,
things
might change. So I think, you know, it happens at the right time. I do think we always end up where we're meant to be, and I think you ended up where you were meant to be. You were, you know, through persistence and skill, but it, you know, it was fun being a part of that, you know, as well, and watching it. But I was thinking about this. We were talking about this the other day, but I was thinking about if there were any particular moments when you realised like how big it was. Was there a moment when you thought, you know, it had really changed, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, the first time, I'm going to put this garlic, there's the garlic, you can see that there, the garlic, bit of carrot in there as well, but we're getting all our base for the sauce in here now. That's enough garlic in there for now, I think. And you know, I'll maybe put a little bit more in because I like garlic.
You never have enough.
My wife doesn't like it when I eat loads, but hey ho. Keeps the vampires away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But yeah, there was a couple of defining moments. I remember, you know, we'd had some success with BB Mac in Asia, and Back Here had done something, and we got to the airport in Japan, and there was just chaos at the airport and security and just a lot of noise and people, and we were like, wow, what's going on here? You know what I mean? We didn't know, and it was actually a lot of the kids had turned up for me, Mark and Steve, and they're going, BB Mac, and we were like, is that for us? You know what I mean? It was a crazy turning point, I guess. And we thought, wow, this is different. Because we'd never experienced anything like it. We dreamt of that and thinking, oh, you know, this is going to be successful. But yeah, that was one moment. And then I guess the other one was in America. We did a big Disney special where we did a performance in Disney, and it was shot in Epcot,
Oh wow,
Disney in Florida, and they put that on TV every day for about a year, and it kind of just propelled us. And then we coincided with releasing back here. Someone at radio in America got hold of it, loved it, just kept playing it, and the song started to grow. Literally within like a week or two, it started to catch, you know, this wind. And I remember we turned up to a mall. It was the Mall of America, and it was in Glendale.
Okay.
And it was this massive mall. And we got to the mall, and they. I'm going to put this over here. I'm going to stick this on heat. We got to the mall. I'm just going to cook this down a little bit now. But we got to the mall, and security everywhere. They had to shut the mall down because there was that many people in the mall that had come to see us. And that was a moment for all of us. We looked at each other. We had to get a police escort out to the stage park. And something had changed, you know, the power of radio.
Yeah.
Because, you know, in 90s and the noughties, radio, I mean, it still is very powerful, but I think it was just more powerful then.
Yeah.
It was before social media. It was before really, there was the internet, but it was just like some AOL emails and stuff. It wasn't like the thing it is today.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was crazy. You know, that was 2001. 2000, sorry.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was crazy for the next kind of 3 years, really, non-stop, until we took a break in 2003.
Yeah. I just always have these memories of being, maybe coming to the States to see you, and there was always a guitar in the room. Wherever you went, there was always a guitar. And then I've seen you talk about this quite a bit, about how, you know, if the song doesn't work with the guitar and your vocal, then it probably, if it doesn't feel right, it probably isn't going to work. You know, it's an important part.
It is, Mark, yeah. And I think that's stayed with me. Even now, you know, I mean, I still work on BB Mac songs, but I do a lot of electronic music now, and I have done since 2007. And I think, you know, whether it's a BB Mac track or a Christian Burns dance track with huge synth productions, I think it goes back to that. You know, if it works, if the song works on a piano and a vocal, or just a lone guitar and a vocal, you can pretty much take the production so many ways, and it's going to work because it's a strong song. You know, the problem is when you're a songwriter, if you've got something and you're feeling it's not strong enough, and you're thinking, oh, when I get to the production part, I'm going to make it better and, you know, tart it up. It doesn't really work like that. I mean, I've always found the best songs, are the ones usually frustrating that come really fast, but also, you know, the ones that work emotionally with just a vocal and a guitar. I should have given you these to chop, Mark.
Yes,
I'm going to start crying in a minute.
I think it's wise you've done it. I lost the finger at this point.
It's always talking about, you know, the old days and stuff. It's making me emotional.
Yes.
I started to cry.
You talk about obviously all the dance music that you've kind of transitioned into, and you know, you do that as well as the BB Mac stuff.
Yeah.
But obviously, you remember it all started with Tiesto. You remember that?
Yeah, I remember, mate. And you were there. You know, you were there through all of that. Because
I remember you telling me you'd got the email.
Yeah.
Have you heard of this guy called Tiesto? I was like, yeah, he's kind of big.
Because remember, the story is, Tiesto, I had some songs on MySpace, and Tiesto contacted me and says, hey, Christian, you know, I like your song. I think there was a song called Out There, or something about you. And it was like, I like your song, Out There. I've seen it on MySpace. He's like, can I do it? Can I have it? I want to use it. And I was like, no, it's my song. Who is this guy? Tiesto. And I, you know, I'll be honest with you, at that time, I'm just mixing all this up. This is the bass. At that time, I was I wasn't really into dance music, so I wasn't really listening to a lot of dance music, and I didn't know who Tiesto was. So it was now one of my good friends and someone I've worked with now since 2007, Arnie Bink from Black Hole Recordings, who waking up, he's been releasing my music for years, and Waking Up in a Northern Town, my new album, is on Black Hole, and he's just the most amazing guy. Love Arnie to bits, and he contacted me then, and he's like, well, can I send you a DVD in the post? And I was like, yeah, send me a DVD. I was like, he said, check him out. So I was like, okay. And I remember, I think you were there, and we were in my attic in the old house. And I put this DVD on, and it was Tiesto in concert. And he was performing to, I think it was about 60,000 people.
It was huge.
So it was huge. Stadium. And he was in this like booth with all these lights around, and honestly, I'd never seen anything like it. It was like something I'd never seen before, and I was like, my jaw literally hit the floor, and I was like, wow, this is incredible. And I got back in touch with Tiesto. I was like, hi Tiesto, it's Christian again. Let's have a chat about this. I was like, yeah, you know what? These songs are for me. I still didn't give him my songs.
Yeah.
But I said, why don't we write a song together? And he sent me a backing track for this, which is now In the Dark. Very different to what the final sounds like. And he sent me this backing track, and I wrote this song. I think you were there when I was writing it. I was working on the lyrics, and I remember saying, like, this is so different to the stuff I've been used to doing, the BB Mac stuff. It was such a contrast to the, the pop music that I've been doing. But it was an amazing experience. I loved it.
So In the Dark was a big one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That's a big song for you.
It was a massive song for me. It's, one of those special songs in your career. And yeah, great memories from that time. Great memories. Before I go any further, we need to get some of this in. So we're going to get some of the meat in now. This is pancetta. So you can actually use bacon lardons. Do you want to take?
What is it?
It's just bacon.
Oh, bacon, right.
Yeah. But it's very fatty bacon, because you want the fat to render down.
Okay.
And this is what the fat gives a lot of flavour. So, no fat, not much flavour. So it's good on special occasions. This is a special occasion. So I'm going to put that bacon in there. But yeah, if you can't get pancetta, you can use bacon. A good streaky bacon with a lot of fat, and then we'll just mix all that in. And in fact, I'm going to get a lid. Let me get a lid here. Let me see. I think there was a lid down here. Here's one I made earlier. I like using lids because it just keeps the heat in, and it just accelerates the cooking time.
There we go.
Little tip for you.
But it opened the door, though, didn't it? Just with In the Dark, it opened the door to a whole new world for you, going from the pop into trance with Tiesto, and you worked with some big names. In 1 week it was Benny Benassi, then obviously your good friend BT, and many other artists. So it opened a lot of doors for you, and it changed. You came from like a pop world into like trance with Tiesto. It was for me, I remember you doing it, and it was such a brave thing for you to do, because most pop artists wouldn't have done that.
It was very different. It was a big different to the pop music that I was doing, with BB Mac. And, like you say, it was completely contrast. I'm going to put this in here. This is just beef mince, okay? So this is a nice one. It's 5% fat, so there's a little bit of fat in there. And, you can also use like turkey mince as well if you want to be a bit healthier. You can swap that out.
Okay.
But beef mince, I want to brown this meat now before we get the tomato stuff in. So I'm just going to pop this in here and break that up. We'll brown this off. Get that all in there. Okay. But yeah, Mark, it was a big contrast to the stuff I've been doing. And to be honest with you, I liked the challenge. BB Mac's sound had been developing and evolving since we wrote some of the earlier, more poppy BB Mac songs. It was going towards a more, I could say, adult kind of message in the lyrics, a little bit more rock. So I was I was already fusing these. I was listening to a lot of like early Killers stuff, and I loved the way the early Killers stuff fused that rock music with synthesizers.
Yeah.
And I think that's what got Tiesto's attention, because it was kind of different at the time, and I just loved that. So when Tiesto approached me, you know, I was ready, because my lyrics had kind of changed a little bit, and I was ready to take on a new challenge. And I didn't know what I was doing, you know, it was quite scary.
But that's what's brilliant about you, and it's like say, I don't think a lot of people would even attempt it. They would stick to what they know, and they don't push themselves. And I always remember that time, and how impressed and, you know, how brave I thought you were with that, because it opened a lot of doors. Because changing into trance and working with, you know, Benny Benassi and BT, obviously a dear friend of yours.
Yeah,
you know,
it was different, and you know, I think all the good stuff lives out of the comfort zone. You know what I mean? Everything that's great, it lives behind fear, and I think you've just got to push through those fears, because that's where all the good stuff is. You know, at the other side of fear, and you know, anything. And I carried that through now. So when I'm doing something now, whether it be building an academy, or you know, developing some software, or you know, writing an album, whatever it is, or learning a new skill, if I'm really struggling, I know it's the good stuff. I know I'm growing. You know what I mean? And it's something I've always carried with me. If I'm not feeling challenged in whatever I'm doing, I know I'm not growing. So I've always stuck by that motto, is to just push yourself, and you know that old saying, do something that scares you every day. It's very true. It's where all the good stuff lives. So
you ever feel tension though? Because I don't think we ever spoke about this when you were doing it. Did you ever feel like, with your pop identity and trance, did you ever feel any kind of tension between those two kind of identities that you had and were forming?
Yeah, I mean, you know, for a while there, after BB Mac, I remember I was trying to get signed. I had all these songs, and they were great songs, and you know, for
showcases in London as well, weren't you?
For one reason or another, Hollywood Records, who I was signed with, they didn't release these solo records. I don't know if it was too rock for them, or they you know, record labels do that. They move on to another artist, and sometimes it's unfortunate, but they might keep someone on the roster just so no one else can have them. You know what I mean? So I don't know what quite went on, but I was struggling, and there was a huge backlash in 2003, huge backlash against pop music.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was very indie, very guitar-led, very rocky. And I was even to the point where I was approaching record companies, and I wasn't saying who I was, what I'd done, and I was sending them my demos. If you can see that beef now, it's looking nice now.
Looking good.
It's cooking, it's getting brown with all the veggies. We're going to add some tomatoes in a minute. But I was sending demos off, and they were like, wow, this stuff's amazing. This stuff sounds incredible. You know, we want to know more. We're like, who are you? Where'd you come from? What'd you do? And as soon as I mentioned I was in BB Mac, because it was 2003, they were like,
yeah,
ghost. You know what I mean? It was like, and it was really frustrating. So there was, you know, it was a dark time, I'll be honest with you. 2004 to 2007 was pretty dark at times, because, you know, I had a lot of music I'd been doing for years and years, and it was like I felt like I lost my identity, you know. So I was struggling with, you know, not performing and not, you know, doing what I was supposed to be doing. Yeah. And it was very frustrating. It was a time before, you know, self-releases and Spotify, and, you know, there's so many more avenues now. I'm going to just bring this over here, because I'm going to put some of this tomatoes in it now. So this is a great, Muti is a great brand of tomatoes. It's the most authentic one you can get in the supermarkets over here in England. So I'm just adding a tin of tomatoes, not finished yet. I'm going to add tomato puree, or as in America you call it tomato paste. Tomato paste. I'm going to get some of that going in there. But yeah, that was a frustrating time for me.
But you didn't give up though, and then you obviously transitioned into another kind of musical sphere with Tiesto and working with all those other kind of dance artists. And I think that, like I've always said this to you, I think I was really, I'm really proud of you because of that. Like most people would have given up, you know, and you didn't, and then you've developed this sound, which obviously you know I love. So, and obviously you've got the new album coming now, haven't you? So Northern Towns.
I'm very excited about the album, Waking Up in a Northern Town. It's something I've been working on now for what year are we on at the moment?
2026. It's been a while then, right?
Yeah, I mean, some of the songs even started as far back as 2020, 2021 when I was working on Love Songs from Suburbia, which was my last album on Black Hole. I've just put these tomatoes in now, and as you can see,
they look amazing.
It's looking good. Now what I want to do, Mark, can you open that wine?
Yep.
And don't drink it.
Yeah.
Okay. Don't drink it. We need it for cooking, Mark.
Not a problem. I'll save you some.
Yeah.
So have you got any collaborations on the new album then?
Yeah, I've got a few collaborations. I've worked with some amazing people. And before I tell you about those collaborations, I like to take my tin with all the tomato stuff in the residue in there. See? Ooh, the good stuff. And I'm just going to put some water in it. I like to put some water, a little bit, half a can of water. Okay. And then I want a good glug of wine in there, Mark. Let's get some wine in this can, yeah. I always use the can because, you know, it's less dishes and...
Because you can.
Yeah.
Is that enough?
Bit more.
Okay.
Half of it, come on. Half of it. So, there's about that much wine in there, see? Okay.
I'm looking forward to the dinner.
Cheers. All right. And then we put the red wine in. Okay. That's the red wine. Now, if you were to taste this now, it wouldn't taste very nice. It would taste quite bitter.
Okay.
Okay, so don't taste it.
I won't.
Okay. But we just want to cook this down now. This has got to cook for a while. I'm going to add a few more things in a minute. But yeah, collaborations on the new album. I'm so excited. I mean, I had Fall to You out already with Pretty Pink. That was great. I met Pretty Pink when I was at this. It was a big festival in London, and I was actually hanging out with my friend Jody Wisternoff. He invited me down. We did a song together, The Spark, his album, and he introduced me. And I met Anne, and we were talking about music. She said, I love your voice, and I said, I love your stuff as well. So we said, let's do something, and we did a track called Lost and Found a few years ago. Funny story about that. Side note: the song "Lost and Found" it was actually about my drone. Remember when we were filming for Love Songs from Suburbia? We were filming content, and I thought it'd be a great idea to fly my drone over the sea in Blackpool. And we watched it, and it was like, "Yeah, look at this!" Yeah, and it was going. Next minute, it just went, and just it just went and disappeared. And we looked at each other. I was like, my heart sunk, and I was like, "That's the drone gone then." And then about 2 weeks later, I got a message on Facebook of this guy saying, did you lose a drone? I was like, yeah, in the sea. I'm like, it's in the English Channel, the Irish Sea. I thought, you're not going to find that. So he basically said, I was on Blackpool Beach with my metal detector, and I found this drone, and I dug it up, and I took the memory card out of it, and I put it in my computer, and I seen you getting interviewed talking about your music, and I was like, oh, I know that guy. That's Christian Burns. He sang with Tiesto. It was In the Dark. And I was like, no way. So I went round and I found the guy, and he said, yeah, this is where I live. And I went and picked the drone up. And I was like, wow, unbelievable. So that song, if you listen to the lyrics of Lost and Found by me and Pretty Pink, you'll hear what I'm talking about. It was a song about my drone. See, but that's the great things about lyrics.
That's brilliant.
You know, it can be about whatever you want it to be. You know, I love that about lyrics, is that you can interpret it however you want. Look at this sauce now. Look at this. This is looking nice. Wow, that's looking.
And talking of interpreting things, though, how do you want anyone, your fans, your fan base, people who love what you do, how do you want them interpreting the artwork of the album? What's the kind of story behind that?
Yeah, well, the artwork...
it's important, right?
It is important. I think when you're doing an album, it's not just about the music. It's about the whole package, you know. And everything's got to be there's got to be that prosody, that cohesiveness to bring everything together. Now, the album's called Waking Up in a Northern Town, as I said before, and it's a metaphor for, you know, not actually waking up, but waking up.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Do you know what I mean?
Does.
So I wrote the album. It's funny because it spans. I've got 2 stock cubes here, by the way. These are beef stock cubes. I like to put these in. You can just use salt and pepper, but I just find with the beef that these add a little bit of, something special. So I'm going to.
So what is that? It's like a beef
stock. Yeah, and
Okay.
just cubes. And do you know what? Because there's quite a bit of liquid in here already, we don't really have to melt them down into the stock itself. We can just crumble them in.
Okay.
Like so. So I've got the beef stock cubes in there. We'll just let those go in. I will wash my hands. When I was a kid, I used to actually eat OXO cubes.
No.
I was a weird kid. I used to eat OXO cube, and then my mum had a tube because she's Italian. She had a tube. Always had a tube of anchovy paste in the fridge, and I'd go in, sneak and get this anchovy paste,
Just eat that
and eat it out the tube.
Was it hot?
No, it's very salty.
Salty, right?
Weird kid.
Yeah.
There you go. So yeah, going back to the artwork on the album. Throw this away now. I've got to say, Mark, that you did such an incredible job. As I mentioned earlier, that Mark's an incredible photographer, and Mark actually did all the photographs for the art direction for Love Songs from Suburbia. So, we did a whole shoot with this old classic car a friend of ours, Ian, had.
Yeah.
And we went and we planned it out and we did all the shoot, and that turned out amazing. I think the vinyl, you and Andrew Debbins, who did the kind of design kind of side of the project, I thought it was such a great album and it's such a great collaboration that I've decided to do the same with this album and the singles. So you took all the photographs for the artwork, which I think they're just incredible, Mark.
Thank you.
You were such an incredible photographer with such an amazing eye, and it's just, I know you're one of my best friends in the world, mate, but it's like I'm proud of you to see what you've done and where you've taken your photography, because it blows me away every time, mate. So
we had fun with it though, didn't we?
We did have a lot of fun, and what we did was we went to we went to all the places I grew up at, when I was a kid. So my old street where I grew up till the age of 13, the woods where I play out, the train tracks, and all these little places, even the alleyway where I'm walking down, where I used to walk to the shop for my dad. My dad, this was the 80s, my dad would send me to the shop for cigarettes.
Oh, you got to love Tony.
He used to get, this is the 80s, he'd give a note to the shopkeeper, please serve my son with, I think it was Hamlet cigars, with a packet of cigars, and I'd just go in like this. And my dad would say, I'll get you some sweets. I'd be like, all right. And I'd go in, that was the 80s for you.
Yeah.
But even that walk to the shop, I remember, that's where I started. I was only about 7, 8, and I started writing melodies and on this little walk to this path. And it was just great to go back and revisit these places for the album artwork. And we took these lovely, grainy, black and white photographs. And then, working with Andrew, he's added this splash of colour to the whole project. And I'm really happy with how these turned out, mate.
Yeah, they look cool, don't they?
Yeah, it was amazing. I need to do some chopping now,
Right,
Mark.
what's that?
This is parsley, flat leaf parsley, right?
Okay.
Don't ever get the stuff in the jar. It's rubbish. And I'm going to say that now, and I think every other chef out there, any decent chef will say, don't use it, okay? Always get the fresh stuff. It's got so much more aromatic, so much more flavour. So you can have that knife, Mark.
What do I do?
Again, don't chop your finger off. Right?
Don't judge me for this, right? I've seen how proper chefs do this.
Right, okay. So the trick is, you don't want to cut. Yeah, I'll show you on mine, so we can get the camera zoomed in. You want to keep your fingers in like this, right?
Yeah.
So you want to keep your fingers in at all times. So you're not chopping the end of your finger off, you see, and then you just kind of creep back like that, you see. You can't chop your fingers off if they're not on the chopping board, Mark.
I get that.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, I'll do it like Gordon Ramsay.
Doesn't listen to me. Doesn't listen to me.
You'll be impressed though.
So, we'll chop this parsley up. It doesn't have to be like perfect, like a piece of art, but this adds so much flavour to the sauce. It's unreal. And yeah, just please always use fresh parsley. Okay, that's the only thing. If you take anything away from this today, it's use fresh herbs. All right?
You can smell it. It smells great.
Yeah. See those aromatics coming straight away. So I'm going to put this in, Mark. You can put that in there as well. Let's get the parsley in. And I'll put this onto a low simmer now.
What do you think? What do you think of this? Look at that.
Get it in there.
That's all right.
It's great. Great. All right. Okay, this is coming together. Now, a little trick, which my mum told me, is when you're doing this, is, let me go to the fridge over here. Okay. And it's an odd one, but it's to use a splash of milk. You wouldn't think that, right?
No.
What it does, it helps tenderize. And you don't need much. You need just a splash of milk. It helps tenderize the meat. So it helps the beef and the pork, the bacon, just tenderize and kind of melt in your mouth. And yeah, so there we go. So we cook this now. And we just let this simmer for a bit now.
Okay.
And then, what we can do, we let this simmer for a bit. We can add some more seasoning. Everything's in there that we want in there, but you've got to taste it then. This is what cracks me up. I like to watch Kitchen Nightmares, the Gordon Ramsay one.
Yeah.
Me and my wife watch it all the time. There's a channel on Samsung TV where it's on 24 hours a day. It's incredible. So sometimes, when you've had a crazy day and it's been like really one of those days where your head hurts, you've been doing that much stuff, it's just nice to switch off and just watch something, dumb your brain down. And I watch it, and it's the amount of people who cook food and they don't taste it as they go along. And I don't understand. You've got to taste it.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, what do you know what it's going to be like? So at this point, I think we can see it's going a nice dark red, right?
Yeah.
That's what we want, okay?
Okay.
So I'm going to have a little taste. It'll probably need more seasoning, but I can just kind of tell where we're at. I know that the parsley will cook down as well. So I'm just going to taste this. Let me see.
It's the moment.
It's coming together.
Good.
It needs more time because basically the red wine needs to cook out all the alcohol. And the red wine becomes sweet then. At the moment, there's still a little bit of bitterness from the red wine. That will go.
Okay.
So another 15 minutes I'll taste again. I just want to put a little bit of water in that again. Because the water, it evaporates. It comes up anyway. But it just stops it from... It means you can cook it for longer without reducing it too much, because then it gets gloopy and it can start to burn. And we just want to cook this meat down even more, so it kind of just melts in your mouth and all the fat runs out. But it's coming together, and I won't season it yet. I'll season it in a little bit. But what I like to do at this point is get the grater, which is there. It's only had carrots in, so we're all right. And yeah, I'm going to grate some of this Parmesan cheese in. Okay. So I'm just going to put that into the... Oops. It's actually okay. I can leave that in because that will melt. I always put a lump in anyway. I usually put the rind in. I'm not lying. Let's put some of that in. Because it's basically, you're using the cheese as a seasoning. Parmesan has got a good salt flavour level in it. So using some of that to season it is good. So, and then like I say, in Italy, what they do, the rind, when you get to the end of the rind, this part, they throw that in the pasta sauce and they cook it with it in. And then at the end, before you serve it, they take it out and put it in the bin. But there's so much flavour in that. So, yeah. So there you go.
I'm learning lots today. Yeah. And that's what a pan looks like. I'm very impressed.
Progress.
Progress, not perfection, eh? So you mentioned Pretty Pink before.
Yes, Pretty Pink. Yeah, she was one of the collaborators in the album. I've got a few collaborators on this album. So I've worked with a guy called Littlefoot, incredible producer. I think he's in Australia, far away. And we did a song called I Will Follow, which I absolutely love that one. He did an amazing job. Who else have I worked with in the album? I mean, the first release was actually with Cosmic Gate, a song called Brave. And I'll be honest with you, Brave was a big track for me and for Cosmic Gate. I'm really happy about that track. That was the kind of emotional anchor for the album, because that was the first track I wrote. And that was, a track I wrote when I was in quite a reflective time in my life. It was just after COVID, just it was a weird time for a lot of people. And I was, I was feeling it. I was going through a lot, and it was like this kind of, I was suffering, and I wrote the song because if you listen to the lyrics, it was a message to myself. Close your eyes, you're brave enough. It was kind of, I was talking to myself, and
Brilliant.
it was this hope of coming out of this darker time. It's the same with Darker Days. That's another track on the album. These were songs about when I was going through struggles, and kind of got me out, because this album was actually written over 2 chapters in my life. One half was written in this time of struggle, and this time where it was, it was a pretty hard time for me. And, I met my now wife in 2022, sorry. And if I get that wrong, she's going to slap me at this.
It'll be fine.
So I met my wife during the process of recording this album. 2022, half the album was written in this time of struggle and despair. And the other time, I met my wife in 2022, and it's been the most amazing time of my life. We got married in 2024. Yes, I'm trying to get these dates right.
It gets confusing, doesn't it?
You'll watch this, and it's just, I'll be a dead man. So, and it was just to see the difference I felt emotionally. I poured it out into these songs. So there's a lot of songs of hope, and then there's a lot of songs of that kind of resolve, emotionally resolve. So, it was kind of when I figured out, right, that's what I'm going to call the album, Waking Up in a Northern Town, because I wrote a lot of it, obviously, in Wigan. I want to show you something here now. See that red oil that's coming to the top? That deep burgundy kind of colour there?
Yeah.
Come and have a look at this. There's that deep burgundy. This is what you want to see. You want to see that red foam on top and the deep burgundy oil. That's when you know it's kind of getting close to being ready. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to give that a little stir. Like that. I'm going to turn this down, actually. I'm actually going to move this onto the back burner.
Okay.
Because that's a bit much. I'm going to use this one for the pasta. But yeah, it was written over these 2 chapters in my life, one of struggle and one of resolve, and one of the greatest times of my life. So there's this contrast of emotions on the album, and it's great to see this kind of change in my lyrical content. But there's so many collaborators. I did work with a guy called Bernardi on the album, and we worked on a few tracks together on the album, and we've got a track called Embers, which is a single. And I worked with Bernardi on Love Songs from Suburbia. He did a remix on the song Any Love. And I just loved what he did. And I was like, wow, I was really blown away. So when it come to finding, different people to collaborate with this on this album, Bernardi was up there, and I was like, mate, would you like to do something? And he's like, oh, I would love to. So we worked on 4 tracks on the album, and it was fantastic, yeah.
So how long did it take?
It took a while. I mean, the collaborations I did, so I did Pretty Pink, Cosmic Gate, Bernardi, I did Paul Thomas, another guy I did Enjoy the Silence with. I did a cover of the Depeche Mode song. Love what he did with that, so I got him on the album as well. I also worked with, who else did I work with? I'm having a brain fart. This is what happens when I'm trying to cook. I'm trying to do everything at once. Cosmic Gate, Pretty Pink, Bernardi, Paul Thomas. And also did a track with this guy, Mark Novus, who is Let Me Love You, which has been out already. But I absolutely love that track as well. And he was another guy, I discovered him on Spotify. I was looking at new songs and stuff, and I heard this song of his, Sweet Mistake, and I was like, wow, this is really, really good. I love his approach. And we got to work on a track together. That's the great thing about, social media and, Spotify and these things. It's a way to discover new artists and a way to collaborate. A lot of people go on about, oh, the music industry is terrible, social media is terrible, and blah, blah, blah. But there are some really positive things that come from it, and that's one of them is finding people to collaborate with, new people.
Yeah, well, that would have been a thing when you started out with BB Matt, wouldn't it? Like, back then in the early noughties, you couldn't just reach out to an artist that you wanted to work with, or and the world's changed, hasn't it?
It has changed. It's changed a lot, Mark. It's, I'm just going to put some hot water in here because we're going to cook some pasta in a second. But yeah,
Okay.
it's changed a lot. It really changed. So, it's just different now. You know, a lot of people moan about it. I'm thinking it's just different and you have to embrace it.
Is the process different though? You know, when you were writing the songs with BB and Mac and now writing for yourself and working with these different dance people in that world, is the writing process, is it the same?
I think, fundamentally, it's a lot of the same. It's what I spoke about before. It's about, the song is king. You can have as many synthesizers and bells and whistles as you can wrap around a song, but really, you can't polish a turd. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You've heard that saying.
Yeah.
I mean, you can, but with a really soft cloth. But you've got to make sure the body and the song and the lyric and the message, the emotional message, cuts through with just a piano and the vocal, and then the rest comes to it really. So I always stick with that. There was a point after BB Mac and I started getting into using software and Logic, and I used to just I was so excited about doing the production part that the song kind of was like, I'd write some songs, I'd be like, yeah, that'll do, I'm going to put drums on it, I'm going to put this, and I was so excited, but they turned out shit. So,
Yeah.
It's like you've got to take it back to that core, which is the emotional message. Does it connect with people? Is the melody, is it catchy? Is it forgettable, or is it something that's an earworm that you're singing? So there's all these different things. Obviously, I do the academy and I teach people to do this, and it's just fascinating to see like how many different approaches there are to writing a song, but the way I write songs, it's got, I've got it. It's more about a feeling than something I'm hearing. It's like, what does it make me feel?
So how do you know when it's finished though? So with the album, I guess, as well, how do you know when the song is finished and the album's finished?
Well, that's a good question, because art, it's never finished. It's only ever abandoned. You know what I mean? It's like you can walk away, you can keep playing around with that song forever, and a lot of times I've done that in the past. I've kept tweaking and stuff and keep changing things, and then you actually break it and you lose that magic. So I guess one thing I would say is definitely less is more, but it's knowing. That's a big part of songwriting. It's knowing when to step away. And you've got to make that call. And I think early on in my career, when your confidence is not there, you're never happy with it, and it's like you've got to remember, listen, if it moves you, if you're writing a song and it moves you, it's going to move other people. Okay. It's not going to move everyone, because, if everyone liked the same thing, the world would be quite boring, wouldn't it? Everyone will like this pasta, though. Everyone will love this pasta. But it's one of those, you've got to make the call. But I'd say, if it makes you feel something and it moves you, it's done, it's done. Just step away. And just walk away from it. And that was when the album came together. It's always one of those things when you're writing, it's something with like 12 tracks. It's a lot, but there's a moment where it's chaos and it's like, it's not working, isn't it? And then it's like, this is the worst thing I've ever done. And then you're like, whoa, turning around, no, this is the best thing I've ever done. And it's a journey when you're writing a song, but when you're writing an album, it's that kind of journey. And I remember just listening to all the songs, the roughs, and thinking, yeah, I've got something great here. And that's when I was like, right, step away, Christian.
Well, you played me some in the car the other night. It's brilliant. So what I've heard, so I can't wait to hear it.
Yes, Mark, I'm really happy with how it's turned out. I'm just actually going to turn this pasta sauce off now, because I think this is done. I'm going to add some seasoning, so I'm just putting a bit of salt in there. There we go. Some salt, some pepper. Who's that guy you say? Percy Pepper and Sally Salt. It was Ainsley Harriott. I think it was, wasn't it? English chef. So add in quite a bit of pepper. Okay. And I'm going to give this a stir again. I'm going to let you taste it in a minute, Mark. I didn't let you taste it. I wanted it to be right. I'm actually going to add a little bit more Parmigiano. Okay.
I'll just check the wine, make sure that's looking...
Yeah, you check the wine,
wine's looking good.
Is the wine looking good? Are you sure?
Yeah.
Any left?
Just a little bit.
All right. So I'm going to put some more Parmesan in. I'm going to try not to dump the whole lot of it in this time, but this adds so much flavour. So much flavour.
Bob can smell it.
Yeah, this is Bob. Bob, you like my cooking, don't you, Bob? Yeah. Oh, he's fell over. Look at that. I know you want me to tickle your belly, but I'm actually in the middle of a TV show. I'm auditioning for Gordon Ramsay's next big TV show, so you're going to have to...
Yeah.
I can't work in these conditions. I can't work in this. Okay. So, sorry, Bob. I will tickle your belly later. I'll give you a proper tickle.
So I've only heard, obviously, a couple of the songs you played me.
Yeah.
In the car the other night. But of the songs on the album, were any difficult to write? Were there any songs that were really kind of personal, I guess, emotional? Or
Yeah, I mean, I think you know. First of all, I'm going to taste this, and then I'm going to let Mark taste it. See, that extra 10 minutes, this meat is melting. This is incredible. This is possibly the best one I've ever done. And, you know, I never say that.
Yeah.
I never say that. Taste that. That is unreal.
Oh, that's nice.
Isn't that unbelievable?
Oh, Bob, you're going to love this.
Bob, you can't have this, Bob. It's too rich for doggies.
That is really nice.
That is amazing. Honestly, guys, you've got to make this pasta sauce. You're going to absolutely love it. And you're going to wow people with this sauce, honestly. I've just wowed myself. I've just wowed Mark.
That is
and
really
Bob.
nice.
So that pasta sauce is done. What I'm doing now, I'm boiling the water. Now, we want to add some salt to this water. It looks like I'm adding a lot of salt, okay? Because it is, yeah. But what you want to do, you don't eat all that salt. But basically, you want to put quite a decent amount of salt in so that you flavour the pasta.
Okay. What
and
kind of pasta are you using?
The pasta I've got is this stuff. It's called Durham wheat. Okay, this is the good stuff. It's quite posh pasta, right? But you want to get the good stuff because the one with the Durham wheat. I mean, I would do fresh pasta, but we didn't have time in this video to do the fresh pasta and the sauce. So I thought you'd get more fun out of, I can't play the ball yet, Bob, out of the sauce. But yeah, if you can't use fresh pasta, which is really the best, get something which is Durham wheat, okay? And this is it's quite a posh one, but it's worth it. And all these little ridges on it, they really let the sauce cling to it. So that's the pasta we're going to use. But yeah, emotional. I mean, they're all emotional for one way or another. Some of the songs on the, like, there's Darker Days and Brave, which were songs when I was struggling. So they were hard to write because I was trying to feel something. I was projecting something out there that I wasn't feeling. You know what I mean? I was kind of having a bit of a lecture to myself to say everything's going to be all right, Christian. Darker days will be over. So, they were difficult to write for their own reasons. And then, I've got songs after I met my wife. So after I met Amanda, songs like Let Me Love You. Strangers is actually inspired by the first day I met my wife. And, there's a lyric on the questions answered with feelings. I love that, summed it up how I actually felt that day when I met my wife. So yeah, there's a lot of the songs are special to me and very emotional. So yeah, so a lot of those songs are emotional for me for different reasons. Yeah.
What about Crisis Points then? Were there any? Because I know they can take a lot of time, can't they, to make the albums? And like you were saying before about letting them go once you've made it, you're maybe not happy with it, or it's ready. Were there any moments in the
crisis moment?
Yeah.
I mean, this cooking video.
Yeah.
I was panicking about this because I was like, "What? I'm gonna have to do two things. I'm gonna have to talk and cook at the same time."
That's a crisis moment.
I mean, this is the way to do it because I've made the best pasta sauce I've ever made in my life. So,
there we go.
As far as as a songwriter, there are always those moments. You start a song off and it's like, this is great. Oh, this is really good. Oh, I'm loving this. And then it's like 5 minutes later, like, oh, maybe it's not that good. In fact, this might be the worst thing I've ever written in my life. And like, oh, I hate it. I hate it. And then you change one chord in the progression, or you change a lyric and you're, oh, actually, I do like that. Or I've done this thing where I'm like, oh no, I've gone off this one now. And I get to bed and I'm singing this line. I'm like, what's this song in my head? And then I'm like, oh, that's the song I was working on today. I actually love it. So it's this love-hate tug of war. I think it's the same with you in photography when you're editing a photo. And it's that always like, it's that like tug of war almost between, what's right and what's wrong. Because there is no right and wrong in art. You know what I mean? You've got to go with your gut. And it can be difficult sometimes, but I was happy. Once I got all the body of work, the songs written, I was really happy with it. And I knew then that, when we come to produce these up, it was only going to get better. And I was right, that the whole process, I mean, there's always tweaks you make along the way, but it kind of, it just all works out in the end. You've got to trust the process, and you've got to, as George Michael sang, you've got to have faith.
You've got to have faith,
Have
indeed.
faith.
So I obviously you were touring or performing in the Netherlands a few weeks ago. I was watching you. That was pretty epic. Are you looking forward? Obviously, you were performing the track you did with Armin van Buuren.
Yeah.
But are you looking forward to performing some of these new tracks?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've done a few shows this year already, and I'm excited because after COVID, I kind of stopped. All the gigs kind of stopped, and then I started doing the BB Mac touring, and that takes up a lot of my time. I love touring with BB Mac. It's a lot of fun. We have such a great time out on the road together. It's like I'm out driving around America with my best mates. You know what I mean? It's fantastic. But I also love doing the solo stuff as well. And yeah, I am excited to get back out and do more shows, more solo shows, and get this music out to more people. So yeah, I'm excited about that. Yeah, excited about that. I'm going to put this pasta in now because
is that ready?
It's nearly ready. It's starting to boil.
Okay.
Sorry about the noise. Now, this was the biggest pan I could find at the moment, so let's hope it all fits in. Whoops, a daisy.
I like it.
We're going to put some of this pasta in here. Okay. Some of it's broken in the packet, so I don't want to pour it out. It's going to go all over the floor. There we go. Get that in there.
That's a lot of pasta.
It's like,
Right.
Can you ever have it too much pasta, Mark? Come on.
I'm very impressed.
This will all go down in a minute. Okay, so let's get rid of that. Out of the way. And yeah.
So what's the songwriting process like for you then? Do the songs come quickly? Or some people, because I see some artists might say, I wrote it in 10 minutes, and some will say it took me weeks or months.
I think it's different a lot of the time. The bulk of the idea usually comes, on the good songs, the bulk of the idea usually comes fast. It usually comes quite fast when it's a good one.
Yeah.
You can, if you're really struggling to write a song and you're struggling with it, the best thing to do is to walk away, because if it's forced, it just doesn't turn out as good.
Okay.
So sometimes, it's quick, and then you're stuck on a couple of lines or second verse, and that can take a while. But you kind of know you've got something in the bag, so you can step away and say, I'll come to that another day, you know what I mean? But yeah, a lot of the times, if it's not working that day for me and I'm struggling, I kind of just step away. You know what I mean? It's time to walk away, and just don't be scared to start something different.
Something new.
You know what I mean? It's like the one thing I used to get frustrated with when writing songs was if I was writing something, it was rubbish. I'm rubbish. This is crap. I'm not a great songwriter, and you kind of have those imposter syndrome would creep in. But the truth is, you've got to write that crap stuff to get to the good stuff. It's like when you're digging for treasure, you have to get your hands in the soil and dig that. You have to get your hands dirty to get to the gold.
I like that.
So it's the same in songwriting and in anything creative. It's part of the process. And once you realise that, writing these, mediocre songs or these mediocre ideas or, even crap ideas, when you realise you've got to do that, you've got to do that to get to the good stuff. And it's so comforting when you hear people. I heard, who was it I heard saying? Paul McCartney, probably my all-time greatest musical hero after my dad and my mum. Paul McCartney's just like, wow, what a guy. And he said that as well himself. And it's like, 90% of the stuff I write, no one ever hears.
Yeah.
No one ever hears 90% of the stuff I write, because it's just not good enough. But, it helps me get closer. Writing that crap stuff helps me get closer to the good stuff.
The good stuff.
Yeah, so you've got to do it. And I don't care who you are. Chris Martin, you don't get up and then start writing a song and everything that comes out of you is just incredible. Well, maybe Chris Martin does.
Yeah, we like Chris Martin.
Yeah, you know. But that's the truth. It's not like that. It's more like a process. And once you get your head around that, you know, it becomes, you have faith then, and then, you know, that you're going to get something good.
So the songs on the album, which ones do you think, are there any on the album that you think fans are really going to connect with?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of different. There's a track on there. Oops, a daisy. See what's happened. See, I told you it was all going so well, and then the water starts overflowing. There's a track on there called "Won't You Hurry," and I guess it's different for me. It's a bit of a step away from the banging kind of deep house or trance kind of big productions. And I didn't mean it to be like that, but when I came to write this song, and it's like it's quite fast. I think it's 128 BPM, so it could be a dance song, but it just sometimes you've got to serve the song, and it's like not whatever you want it to be. It's whatever the song kind of what serves the song best, and it just served this song to be kind of a more atmospheric ballad with some beats in it as well. But that's kind of you know, I'm loving experimenting. I have experimented on this album with some different sounds. I've kind of been reintroducing some of my trance roots into the you know, the more deeper chilled sound on this album as well. So yeah, I think you know, people are going to like this new kind of direction on some of the songs, and this new kind of fusion of you know, love songs from Suburbia Christian and the older trance Christian, kind of bringing some of these worlds together. And I'm happy how that's turned out.
Couldn't have imagined about when you were writing songs in Wigan that you'd end up here, right?
I know, in the kitchen with you cooking.
Well, there
Who
you
would
go.
have thought it, Mark?
Yeah.
I got to say, mate, I'm well impressed you've not
I've not lost anything.
any blood anywhere.
No, we're all good.
Right. So that's, I mean, that's to me.
There are
that's a success.
there are a couple of wine glasses missing though. I've noticed that. So we'll get round to it.
It's all right.
It's fine.
It's fine.
I'll just check on it. It's looking good.
Is it looking good, mate?
Good, yeah.
All right. Okay. As long as is it okay? Oh, it's gone. So I'm just cooking this pasta now, and you know, I don't even look at the packets. It probably says about 7 to 8 minutes with this stuff. I haven't got my glasses on, so Mark, can you read how long does it take? It probably says 7 to 8 minutes.
Let's have a look. It's all in Italian. Okay.
Can't you speak Italian, Mark?
No.
That's when you know it's the good stuff, when everything's in Italian.
Everything is in Italian.
So you want it al dente, okay? Nothing worse than getting pasta and it's just like mush. It's overcooked. There needs to be a bit of a bite to it. So you want to do it al dente, okay?
Okay.
So if it says on the packet, the pasta takes 8 to 10 minutes.
8 minutes.
Okay, if it says 8 to 10 minutes, on lots of pasta it gives you 2 times 8 to 10 minutes. Take it out at 8 minutes and it'll be al dente. 10 minutes, it'll be al mushy. So you don't want that, okay? So let's just see. And the way to test it, I mean, I just kind of get it in my mouth.
It looks nice.
Taste it. You can see that there. It's coming together nice. And that pasta sauce just is divine. I'm really happy with how that's turned out. It kind of looks like
Looks like octopus.
like Justin Timberlake's hair. Remember from back in the day?
Yes.
It's a little bit. But there was a lot of weird hair knocking around the 90s. I mean, let's talk about hair. I had some crazy hair. I look back at photographs now and it looks like a dead skunk jumped on my head. And yeah, it was Bob. I can't play ball right now. I'm right in the middle. This is live on BBC One. Right. No, sorry. So
Yeah, there was some crazy hair.
yeah, I had some crazy hair. Everyone was doing it, you know what I mean? So I'm going to check this pasta now. So
How do you check it?
So basically, I'll get a fork. I'll pick one up like that. There we go. Watch it because it's hot. And then put it on there. Just break it up. Maybe a bit. That's near perfect. I think another 30 seconds and we're done.
Okay.
Well, in fact, I'm going to turn that off. So turn the heat off. Okay. I need to get a colander, which is here. Okay. I need to get some oven gloves because that pan's hot.
Sorry.
What's wrong with it? Nothing worse than burning your hands.
Let's try your little...
You can try it.
Let's have a little try.
See, it's got a little bit of a chew to it.
Yeah, but I like that.
Yeah, and it's not too salty. You see all the salt I put in? It doesn't taste salty, does it?
No.
Okay, so that's the trick. Don't be scared to put quite a bit of salt in because it can take it. All right, and then we get the pasta. Let me pour this away. I actually pour a little bit of this sauce, this pasta juice, because it's got a lot of starch in it. I pour a little bit in the pasta sauce. It gives it a bit more flavour and it helps thicken it. Another little tip. Let me just get that. So we get this pasta out. And then I'm actually going to transfer the sauce. Not all of it, because that's a lot of sauce. So I'm going to I'll save some of this. So if you can see how much is there, there's quite a bit of sauce there. Okay, it looks delicious, doesn't it? Look at that. There's probably like 3 portions. So I'm going to put, for us guys here, I'm going to put 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh yeah, why not? 5. Okay, I'll put that over there. If you could get some plates out, Mark, we've got some bowls here. So let's get these 2 out.
Yeah.
For me and you.
Okay.
Okay, and then the pasta in the saucepan. Okay, and then we just need to give this a good mix. Let me just do this. We give this a good mix, and you want to make sure every bit of the pasta is coated with that lovely sauce, as you can see there. Oh yeah, this is going to be good. You are in for a treat. Dogs, I'm sorry, but you can't have any. I'm spilling all over the place here.
I'll be gutted.
My oven mitts are being weird. So we just give this a good mix up, like so. Oh, look at that. Okay, I'm going to put a little bit more sauce on top, because that's how I roll. And there we go. So I think we are ready to dish this out. So let's have a look here. I could do with some
Wine glasses.
there's no wine left. Let me get some tongs here. Like the longest
Amazing.
tongs in the world. Record breaker. Okay, so let's get some of this. Look at that. Look at that. Oh yes. Look at that. See the way the sauce clings to this pasta?
Oh, that looks nice.
Yeah, that's going to be delicious.
So when you look at your album,
Yeah.
from start to finish, do you think that where you were when you finished it, do you feel any different to like when you were when you started it? When you look at the arc of the record,
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned before that.
do you change in the process? Do you think?
I think we're always evolving, aren't we? We're always changing. I think definitely, we are. I'm in a different kind of mindset from when I started it. I've been through a lot, kind of emotionally. But I'm happy to report that it's all positive.
Yeah.
I feel more on track with everything now, and yeah, things are good. So I'm happy with the progress I've made on the music and in my life. That's the main thing we all want to do, is we want to progress in life.
Keep moving
so
forward, right?
keep moving forward. Keep being happy. That's the goal. I'm going to put a little bit more sauce on here, just because, we're being fancy. Okay, just put a little bit more on top there.
Yeah, don't be shy.
I'm not going to be shy.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of sauce on there, Mark.
That's good.
There's wine already in there, mate, so don't worry, right? So I'm going to put that there. I'm just going to clean this up a little bit here, like they do on the TV. You know what I mean? They do it proper. I'm going to do it proper. I'm going to put some Parmigiano on there. Okay. There we go. And
Happy things are good for you, you know?
yeah, thanks.
So,
Put a
what's
little bit
next then?
Next for me,
The next chapter for
you know, more
Christian
music, more touring, more music. Just keep developing more collaborations. There's the dish. Christian's ultimate pasta sauce. My mother would be very proud of that right now. Very proud. I hope so, Mother.
It looks good.
There you go. There's the pasta sauce. But yeah, more music, Mark. Working on the academy, more teaching, more passing on the things I've learnt over the years and my methods, my techniques, passing that on, sharing the love with everyone else. So more academy. I've got the membership site, which is amazing. It's a very intimate group of people. And, you know, I share a lot more personal stuff on that in the membership area. So, you know, with those three things, it's keeping me busy, keeping me off the streets, keeping me out of trouble.
Yeah.
And that's it. You know, let's just keep moving on, keep moving forward.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that, and I can't wait to hear the album.
Well,
So,
Waking Up in a Northern Town, it's going to be out in June, and I can't wait for you all to hear it. Thanks for hanging out with me and my good friend Mark Kay while we did this cooking video. I appreciate every single one of you. Please go and check out the new album. It's out on Black Hole, the wonderful Black Hole recordings. And yeah, hopefully I'll see you singing some of those songs on the stage near you soon. Let's taste
Perfect.
it. Let's taste it. Here we go. The moment of truth. Go on, Mark.
there we go.
Right, do it at the same time. Do you want to do the Lady and the Tramp thing? That no.
What do we do?
Will you, no, let's
Oh,
not
no.
do that. Okay.
Never seen it.
Yeah, all right, good. Probably not the best thing to do. Okay, you ready?
Oh, that's good.
That's incredible.
That's really good.
How good is that?
Yeah, that's really good.
You got to make this. It's incredible. Wow.
Wow. That's
the best
nice.
one. That's the best one yet. Unreal. Well, guys, thanks for hanging out on this episode, this special video I did talking about waking up in a northern town. I can't wait to see you all soon. And yeah, enjoy. You got to make it. Enjoy it. All right, see you guys. Say bye, Mark.
Bye. Where's the wine?